The city pulsed with life, its twilight-lit skyline a masterpiece of glass and steel. Nestled amid this urban grandeur was Etoile Brillante, a restaurant where the elites sought more than meals, they sought moments. Inside, the air hummed with refinement, every detail a testament to perfection, from the symphony of clinking glasses to the gentle rustle of tailored suits. Lucas, a waiter with sharp ambition but dulled patience, moved briskly through the room. His confidence, though commendable, often teetered into arrogance, leaving him blind to subtleties. Tonight, his misstep began with a quiet man seated near the window, whose unassuming presence masked a deeper truth. Keanu Reeves, a figure of global admiration, sat unnoticed by most. To him, this restaurant was more than a business, it was a sanctuary of purpose, a place where dreams simmered alongside culinary artistry. Yet, Lucas, mistaking simplicity for insignificance, greeted him with thinly veiled disdain, unaware of the lesson fate had prepared. As whispers of recognition spread, the restaurant's maitre d', Marco, intervened with poised authority. The revelation of Keanu's ownership sent ripples through the room, the weight of the moment settling heavily on Lucas. Yet, rather than reproach, Keanu offered grace, a quiet acknowledgement of human fallibility. In that fleeting exchange, a seed of humility took root in Lucas, an unspoken promise to grow. Under the restaurant's glittering chandeliers, a simple act of kindness illuminated the profound. Even in a world of grandeur, humanity remains the finest art. The city pulsed with energy, its golden avenue aglow beneath the twilight sun. Etoile Brillante, a beacon of refinement, stood as a sanctuary of culinary artistry. Inside, the air shimmered with muted conversations and the delicate chime of crystal, a stage where the elite dined under the orchestration of Chef Russo's genius. The restaurant's opulence was matched only by its discretion, a haven for those seeking more than mere indulgence. Lucas, a young waiter with sharp ambition and a sharper tongue, navigated the floor with brisk efficiency. His upbringing in the city's humbler quarters had instilled a hunger for success, though it often manifested as impatience with the privileged clientele. He sought recognition, yet his brash demeanor sometimes eclipsed his undeniable talent. Tonight, his path crossed with a man whose unassuming presence concealed a quiet authority. Keanu Reeves, dressed in understated elegance, occupied a corner table. To the world, he was a beloved actor, to Etoile Brillante, he was its silent architect. The restaurant was his labor of love, a place where he nurtured not just culinary excellence but also the livelihoods of its staff. Keanu valued anonymity, finding solace in observing the lives unfolding around him. Yet his unpretentious demeanor often led to misjudgments, as it did with Lucas. When Lucas approached, his tone carried an edge of disdain, dismissing Keanu's simple request for sparkling water. The actor, ever composed, met the slight with a gentle smile, his eyes reflecting a depth of understanding. Unbeknownst to Lucas, whispers of recognition rippled through the room, eventually reaching Marco, the maitre d'. Marco, attuned to the nuances of the evening, seized the moment to reveal Keanu's true identity with grace and subtlety. The revelation struck Lucas with humbling force. His initial arrogance gave way to a flood of regret, his confidence unraveling under the weight of his misjudgment. Yet Keanu, embodying compassion, offered not reproach but a chance for redemption. His words, calm and forgiving, resonated deeply, planting a seed of self-reflection in Lucas. The young waiter, chastened yet inspired, resolved to temper his ambition with humility. In the heart of Etoile Brillante, a quiet transformation unfolded. The opulent setting became the backdrop for a profound exchange, where humanity transcended status. Lucas and Keanu, though worlds apart, connected in a shared moment of growth, their encounter a testament to the power of kindness and the lessons hidden within everyday interactions. In the dim glow of Etoile Brillante, tension crackled as Lucas, reeling from the revelation of Keanu Reeves' ownership, found himself cornered by the weight of his earlier misstep. Yet, as the actor's calm gaze met his, there was no reprimand, only a quiet invitation. Every mistake is a step forward, if you let it be. The room held its breath as humility replaced arrogance, and Lucas, humbled, resolved to rise anew. The evening after Lucas's misstep, he found himself lingering near the kitchen, replaying the moment in his mind. His ambition, once a source of pride, now felt like a glaring flaw. Marco, sensing Lucas's unease, approached with a rare softness. "You've got potential, Lucas," he said, "but potential without humility is wasted." The words stung, but they also planted a seed of reflection. Meanwhile, Keanu, ever the silent observer, decided to test Lucas's resolve. The next day, he left a handwritten note with Marco. "Lucas, join me in the garden tomorrow morning. Let's talk about what truly makes this place special." The garden, tucked behind the restaurant, was a space where the staff could unwind, a symbol of the sanctuary Keanu envisioned when he first opened Etoile Brillante. Lucas arrived at dawn, unsure what to expect. Keanu greeted him with a warm smile, holding 2 cups of coffee. "This isn't about yesterday," Keanu began, "but about tomorrow." "What do you want to achieve, Lucas?" The question caught him off guard. He hesitated before admitting, "I want to be more than just a waiter. I want to lead, to create. I don't know how." Keanu nodded, his expression thoughtful. "Leadership isn't about control, it's about service. If you can't respect those you serve, how can you expect respect in return?" Their conversation stretched into the morning, weaving through topics of ambition, kindness, and the importance of listening. For Lucas, it was a revelation, a glimpse into the heart of a man who had achieved so much yet remained grounded. That evening, Lucas returned to the restaurant with a renewed sense of purpose. He apologized to his colleagues for his past arrogance, surprising many with his sincerity. Marco watched from a distance, a faint smile tugging at his lips. The first obstacle had been overcome, but Lucas's journey was just beginning. As the restaurant buzzed with life, a subtle shift in the air hinted at the deepening connections forming within its walls. The evening's rhythm shattered when a sudden commotion erupted in the kitchen. A sous chef burst into the dining area, pale and frantic, whispering urgently to Marco. The maitre d's composed demeanor faltered as the news spread like wildfire among the staff. Chef Russo had collapsed mid-preparation. The heart of Etoile Brillante had stopped beating, and the restaurant teetered on the edge of chaos. Lucas, frozen in place, felt a surge of panic ripple through the room. Guests exchanged uneasy glances, their polished facades beginning to crack. Keanu, sensing the growing tension, stepped forward, his calm presence commanding attention. "Let's not lose ourselves," he said gently, his voice a balm to the rising unease. Marco, struggling to maintain order, turned to Lucas with an urgent plea. "You've shadowed Russo before. You know the flow of his kitchen better than anyone. Can you step in?" Lucas hesitated, the weight of his earlier misstep with Keanu still fresh in his mind. Yet, something in the actor's steady gaze ignited a resolve he didn't know he possessed. The young waiter nodded, his pulse racing as he crossed the threshold into the kitchen. The once harmonious space was now a cacophony of voices and clattering pans. Taking a deep breath, Lucas barked orders, channeling the precision and confidence he had always admired in Russo. Slowly, the chaos began to subside, the team falling into sync under his direction. As the first course emerged from the kitchen, The dining room exhaled a collective sigh of relief. Keanu, watching Lucas rise to the challenge, offered a subtle nod of encouragement. In that moment, Lucas understood that redemption wasn't granted, it was earned through action. The evening unfolded with a subtle shift in the air. As Lucas retreated to the kitchen, his thoughts a storm of self-reproach. Amid the gleaming countertops and the rhythmic clatter of utensils, he caught sight of Sophia, a seasoned waitress with an unerring grace. Known for her quiet wisdom, she approached him, her voice low but firm. "You've got to see beyond the surface, Lucas. Everyone here has a story, and it's not always written in gold." Meanwhile, Marco, ever the vigilant maitre d', glanced toward the entrance as a new figure stepped into the restaurant. Dressed in understated elegance, a woman with sharp eyes and an air of authority surveyed the room. This was Isabelle Laurent, a food critic whose reviews could elevate or devastate even the most established venues. Her presence sent a ripple of tension through the staff, a silent warning to tread carefully. At the same time, in a secluded corner of the restaurant, an older man with a weathered face and a notebook sat unnoticed. His attire was modest, and his demeanor unassuming, but his eyes flickered with a keen curiosity, observing the interplay of luxury and humanity around him. He scribbled occasionally, his purpose enigmatic yet deliberate. Back at Keanu's table, the actor quietly resumed his meal, his demeanor unchanged despite the earlier incident. Yet, his gaze occasionally drifted toward Lucas, who now moved with a newfound humility. Keanu's subtle nod of encouragement did not go unnoticed, a silent acknowledgement of the young man's internal resolve. As the evening progressed, Isabelle's presence loomed, her discerning gaze sweeping over each dish with clinical precision. The staff, though seasoned, felt the weight of her scrutiny, and even Chef Russo emerged from his sanctuary in the kitchen, his usually confident stride tinged with apprehension. The stakes had risen, and the atmosphere crackled with unspoken tension. Lucas, eager to redeem himself, found himself drawn to the older man in the corner. Something about the stranger's quiet observation stirred his curiosity. As he approached, the man looked up, his eyes twinkling with a hint of mischief. "Tell me, young man," he said, his voice warm yet probing, "what does this place mean to you?" The question caught Lucas off guard, but in the pause that followed, he felt the weight of the night's lessons pressing upon him. The evening took an unexpected turn as Marco discreetly approached Lucas, his usually composed demeanor edged with quiet urgency. "A word in the back," he murmured, his tone leaving no room for debate. Lucas, already grappling with the weight of his misstep, followed, his mind racing with the possible consequences. The kitchen, alive with the rhythmic clatter of pots and pans, became a backdrop to Marco's measured words. "Do you know who he is?" Marco asked, his voice calm but firm. Lucas nodded, shame evident in his downcast gaze. "Then you understand the gravity of respect, not just for him, but for anyone who walks through these doors." Meanwhile, Keanu, ever perceptive, observed the scene unfolding from his table. He noticed the tension in Lucas's posture as the young waiter returned, his steps slower, his expression subdued. Keanu's gaze softened. He understood the struggles of youth, the weight of ambition often clouding judgment. Yet, his thoughts were interrupted by a new development, a heated discussion between two patrons at a nearby table. Their voices, though hushed, carried an undercurrent of animosity that disrupted the restaurant's harmony. The two patrons, business rivals with a history of public feuds, had chosen Etoile Brillante as neutral ground for a private negotiation. However, the conversation had devolved into veiled threats and sharp retorts, drawing the attention of nearby diners. Keanu, sensing the potential for escalation, signaled Marco with a subtle nod. The maitre d', ever the diplomat, intervened with a tactful suggestion to move the discussion to a private room, diffusing the immediate tension. As the evening progressed, Lucas found himself at a crossroads. The incident with Keanu had sparked a deeper reflection, forcing him to confront not just his actions but the underlying impatience that had fueled them. His thoughts were further complicated by the unfolding drama between the rival patrons, a stark reminder of the fragility of human connections. In the quiet moments between serving tables, Lucas resolved to approach Keanu, not just to apologize, but to seek guidance. When the opportunity arose, Lucas hesitated only briefly before stepping forward. "Mr. Reeves," he began, his voice steady despite the turmoil within. "I owe you an apology, not just for tonight, but for the way I've been carrying myself." Keanu regarded him with a gentle smile, his eyes reflecting both understanding and encouragement. "Growth starts with acknowledgement," he replied. "But remember, it's the steps you take after that define you." As the night drew to a close, the restaurant's usual rhythm resumed, but the air carried a subtle shift. Lucas, though still learning, moved with a newfound purpose, his interactions tinged with sincerity. The rival patrons, having reached an uneasy truce, departed with a shared nod of respect. And Keanu, ever the quiet observer, left the restaurant as he had entered, unassuming yet profoundly impactful, his presence a catalyst for change in ways both seen and unseen. The room, once filled with soft murmurs, now held a charged stillness, the weight of revelation rippling through its elegant ambience. Lucas, rooted in place, felt the heat of scrutiny from both patrons and colleagues. His brash demeanor had been unmasked, and the quiet humility of the man he had dismissed now loomed larger than life. Yet, Keanu's gentle acknowledgement, free of reproach, shifted the moment from condemnation to introspection. Marco, ever the poised maitre d', approached Lucas with a measured gaze. "A lesson learned is a step forward," he murmured, his words both a subtle reprimand and an encouragement. Lucas nodded, his pride cracking under the realization of his own arrogance. The weight of his actions pressed against him, but within it, a spark of resolve ignited, an unspoken promise to rise above his flaws. As Keanu returned to his seat, the restaurant's atmosphere seemed to breathe again, the tension dissipating into the air like a dissipating storm. The staff resumed their rhythm, though the undercurrent of the moment lingered, a silent reminder of the power of grace. Lucas, now hyper-aware of his surroundings, moved with newfound care, his interactions tinged with a sincerity that had been absent before. In the kitchen, Chef Russo observed the unfolding drama from afar, his sharp instincts attuned to the shifting dynamics. He exchanged a knowing glance with Marco, a silent agreement that tonight's events would serve as a turning point for the young waiter. Russo, a man who valued growth as much as perfection, decided to keep a closer eye on Lucas, sensing potential beneath the layers of brashness. As the evening progressed, Lucas found himself drawn to Keanu's table once more, this time with an air of humility. "I owe you an apology," he began, his voice steady but soft, "and a thank you for your patience." Keanu's warm smile returned, his eyes reflecting a quiet understanding. "We all start somewhere," he replied, his words carrying a weight that Lucas would carry long after the night ended. The night at Etoile Brillante unfolded as a tapestry of subtle transformations. Lucas, once blinded by ambition, began to see the value of humility and connection. Keanu, ever the quiet observer, left a mark not through authority but through kindness. In the restaurant, a sanctuary of elegance, bore witness to the interplay of human flaws and the beauty of redemption, a prelude to the greater challenges yet to come. The evening deepened, the city's glow spilling through the restaurant's grand windows like liquid gold. Lucas, now acutely aware of his misstep, moved through the dining room with a newfound quietness, his earlier confidence tempered by reflection. Keanu's words lingered in his mind, not as a reprimand but as an invitation to reassess his approach to people and his work. He watched as Keanu resumed his seat, the actor's unassuming demeanor a stark contrast to the reverence surrounding him. In the kitchen, Chef Russo observed the unfolding drama through the pass, his sharp eyes catching the subtle shifts in Lucas's demeanor. Russo, a man of exacting standards but hidden warmth, had always believed in second chances. With a slight nod to Marco, he signaled his approval for Lucas to remain on the floor, though his gaze promised a conversation later, a mentor's guidance rather than a scolding. Meanwhile, Marco, ever the diplomat, approached Keanu's table with a bottle of their finest sparkling water. "On the house, Mr. Reeves," he said with a smile, his tone laced with genuine respect. Keanu accepted with a gracious nod, his focus momentarily shifting to a couple seated nearby. Their hushed argument, though subtle, had not escaped his notice. The tension between them mirrored the unspoken struggles that often simmered beneath the surface of such a polished setting. As the couple's voices softened, their hands inching closer across the table, Keanu's quiet intervention became evident. A simple, kind gesture, a discreetly sent dessert, served as a bridge, dissolving the barriers of pride and misunderstanding. The couple's shared smile was a testament to the power of small acts, a reminder that even fleeting moments could mend what seemed broken. Back on the floor, Lucas found himself paired with Sophia, a seasoned waitress known for her unshakable poise. She had witnessed his earlier blunder and, rather than chastise him, offered a few words of advice as they passed each other. "It's not just about serving food," she said softly. "It's about serving moments, connections. Remember that." The night wore on, the restaurant's rhythm steady yet alive with undercurrents of change. Lucas, guided by Sophia's words and Keanu's example, began to see his role in a new light. His interactions grew warmer, his movements more deliberate, as if each tray he carried bore not just plates but possibilities. In the heart of Itoil Brillante, a quiet transformation took root, weaving itself into the fabric of the evening, a prelude to the larger resolutions still to come. The evening deepened, and the restaurant's polished veneer began to crack under unspoken tensions. Lucas, now grappling with the weight of his earlier misstep, found himself distracted, his usual precision faltering. A misplaced order here, a forgotten refill there, small mistakes that rippled through the delicate choreography of the evening. The staff exchanged uneasy glances, the harmony of their routine disrupted by Lucas's inner turmoil. At the same time, Marco sensed a deeper fissure. The maitre d' had long been aware of Lucas's ambition, but tonight, he saw the young waiter's bravado unravel into something raw and vulnerable. Marco, a man who had built his career on intuition, knew this was a pivotal moment, not just for Lucas, but for the restaurant itself. He decided to intervene, pulling Lucas aside with a firm yet compassionate hand. "Do you know what makes this place special?" Marco asked, his voice low but steady. "It's not the food, the decor, or even the exclusivity. It's the people. Every single one of us has a role to play, and every guest, no matter who they are, deserves our respect." Meanwhile, Keanu observed from his corner, his anonymity now fully shed but his humility intact. He noticed the subtle shifts in the room, the way the staff rallied to cover for Lucas's mistakes, the way Marco guided him with quiet authority, and the way the other diners seemed to sense the undercurrent of tension. It was a reminder of why he had created Itoil Brillante in the first place, not just as a sanctuary for the elite, but as a place where second chances could flourish. As the night wore on, a new challenge emerged. A high-profile guest, known for their exacting standards and sharp tongue, began to complain loudly about a perceived flaw in their dish. The room tensed, all eyes turning to Lucas, who was assigned to the table. Marco hesitated, ready to step in, but Keanu subtly gestured for him to hold back. This was Lucas's moment to rise, or fall. Taking a deep breath, Lucas approached the table with a newfound humility. He listened intently to the guests' grievances, his earlier arrogance replaced by genuine concern. "I deeply apologize for the oversight," he said, his voice steady despite the weight of the room's attention. "Allow me to make this right." His sincerity disarmed the guest, who, after a moment's pause, nodded curtly but without further complaint. As the tension eased, Marco caught Keanu's eye and nodded in silent acknowledgement. Lucas, though still visibly shaken, carried on with a quiet determination, the lesson of the evening etched into his demeanor. The threads of the night, misjudgment, humility, and redemption, began to weave together, setting the stage for the restaurant's next chapter and Lucas's own journey of growth. As the evening deepened, Lucas approached Keanu once more, his steps measured and his demeanor transformed. "Mr. Reeves," he began, voice steady but tinged with remorse, "I owe you an apology for my words, my assumptions." Keanu met his gaze, his expression warm, offering not reproach but understanding. "Growth begins with acknowledgement," he replied softly, his words a quiet encouragement. Marco, observing the exchange, stepped forward, addressing Lucas with a tone both firm and supportive. "Every moment here is a chance to learn, Lucas. Let tonight be a reminder that respect defines excellence." Lucas nodded, the weight of the lesson sinking in as he silently resolved to honor the opportunity. By the end of the night, Lucas had not only regained his composure but began serving with renewed purpose, his interactions now marked by genuine attentiveness. Keanu, preparing to leave, paused by Lucas, offering a handshake. "You've got potential," he said simply. "Make it count." As Keanu exited, the restaurant seemed to exhale collectively, the staff inspired by the quiet power of his example. Lucas, standing taller, felt the shift within himself, a commitment to humility and growth that extended beyond the confines of Etoile Brillante. His journey had only begun, but the path was clearer now. Let this story remind us, every encounter, no matter how fleeting, holds the power to transform. Approach each moment with kindness, and let humility guide your steps. The world is richer when we choose understanding over judgment. Lucas's misstep became the catalyst for his transformation. Humbled by Keanu's grace, he began to see his role not as servitude but as an opportunity to connect with others, regardless of their appearance or status. Over time, he shed his brash demeanor, earning the respect of both colleagues and patrons. Keanu, ever the quiet observer, saw Lucas's growth as proof of his restaurant's deeper purpose, fostering not just culinary excellence, but human connection. As he left that evening, the faintest smile graced his face, knowing his vision had sparked change once more. Etoile Brillante thrived as a beacon of humility amidst opulence, reminding all who entered that kindness was the finest luxury. Let this story inspire you to approach each moment with empathy, because even the smallest gestures can transform lives. What seeds of understanding will you plant today?